Good morning, everyone, to part 3 of our 4-part webinar series on getting started with BIM Collaborate Pro for Civil 3D. In part 3, we'll be focusing on sync our Civil 3D projects to the cloud. I'm your presenter, Lucy Tang. At our accounts, my specialization is in the Civil 3D space and providing training for Civil 3D. Also with us today is my colleague, Dean Peterson. He will answer your questions as we go through the webinar. So definitely don't be shy and feel free to pop your questions into the Q&A pane as we go or at the end of the webinar. Here at Arcant, we are your digitalization partners for the e-com industries. What we do here is we provide software solutions for your company's unique scenario and unique goals from the suite of Autodesk products. We also provide full support services, education, and consultancy services. Here is our agenda for today. To start with, we'll have a quick recap of part 2 in case you haven't seen it. If you've missed it, not to worry. We do have previous parts of this series uploaded to our YouTube channel. Then we'll jump into an introduction to the Autodesk desktop connector, followed by workflows for how to use it as a bridge between your Civil 3D environment and ACC. In part 2, we learned how to add members and how to manage them at the account level. Then we proceeded to go into detail on how to control each member's access for each folder and how to streamline that process by assigning roles and companies to members. In addition, we made clear distinctions between assigning access and permission levels. Let's get into the details of the Autodesk Desktop Connector. I mentioned in part 1 that the Autodesk Desktop Connector is one of the requirements to get BIM Collaborate Pro to work properly. So what exactly does it do? The Desktop Connector serves as a bridge between Civil 3D and the cloud environment within ACC. It's a free download, and you must keep the desktop connector up to date in order for it to work properly. So I'll show you what it does inside my File Explorer. So what happens when the Autodesk connector is launched is it will create a location for you to cache files from the cloud onto your local machine. Here you can see it in my File Explorer, and it works exactly like your C drive. So this location is where you'll be opening and saving files on the cloud. So let's compare what we see in my project list on this tab here for ACC. So in this area, we've got a whole list of projects. So I'm going to go inside my Autodesk Docs, then into my account here. And as you can see, I have just the one project here. So why is that? That's because you can pick and choose which projects are cached on your machine. So this is where project selection comes in. Project selection is where you can choose which projects on the cloud you want cached on your machine. And I'll show you where to do that. So I'm going to go into the bottom right of my screen here. And I'll click on this arrow to open up my system tray. And if you hover over this little D icon here, it will show you that it's the Autodesk Desktop Connector. And it also shows you which version you're using. So we'll left click to open that up. So here, it will automatically land on the pane that shows you whether or not your projects are up to date at the top here. And also a recent history of your file transactions inside this bottom area. So if we click on this little icon in the top right of the window, this is where you can access select projects on the view. So here, you will initially see a list of all your accounts. So if you're associated with multiple accounts, they'll all be listed here. And then you can click and expand this arrow to choose which projects you can add on here. So this is actually looking at another account I have, which is why the list is a little bit different. So all the projects here will be the ones that you're invited to. So let's say I want to add this bridge project in here. So at the moment, I have just Lucy Test here. So keep a close eye on the File Explorer as I click Save here. Yep, so the projects are connected. And now we can see that bridge project is now accessible on our local machine. And these projects, they can be toggled on and off via the checkboxes at any time. So why is this important? Why not just have all of your projects cached on your machine? It's important because any files that are locally cached will take up space and also use up your internet bandwidth. Thus, to keep things running as smoothly as possible on your machine, you should only select active projects that you're working on. After selecting your projects, you'll be able to see the same files you have on the cloud inside your File Explorer. So if I go into Lucy Test and enter project files, and I'll show you what I have in the docs folder. So as you can see, it has the same file structure as docs in here. So you may be wondering what's going to happen if one user is working on a file and another user opens that same file. Would they be making edits at the same time? That can cause a lot of problems, especially if more people enter the file at the same time. This problem is addressed with automatic file locking and unlocking. So I'm going to go into the civil structures folder here. And I do have this bridge file open in my Civil 3D. So I'm going to move this folder here a little bit. And also we have the Civil 3D file open here. So we'll move that over here. So this file is currently open inside my Civil 3D application. And you can see within the ACC environment, there is a lock, and it will say which user is currently inside that file. So this means only the first user can make edits at this point. For everyone else, that file is locked. Now, they'll still be able to open it, but it will be a read-only file at this point. And you can see the same status reflected inside your File Explorer. So you don't have to go all the way into ACC in the web browser in order to see that it's locked. So it will also show you inside the status bar here. Now, as soon as I close this file, it will be updated in the cloud and become unlocked for everyone. So let's close this here. I'm not going to save any changes because I haven't made any, so we'll click no. And as you can see, it's updating within the ACC browser, and the locks disappear in both the ACC environment as well as your File Explorer. Now, looking at my File Explorer, you'll notice that the file I opened has a different symbol here from the rest of the file. So that one has a green check mark, and the rest have little clouds on them. The cloud symbols mean that these files are not yet cached on your local machine. They're still up in the cloud. The file with the green check mark shows that file has been brought down from the cloud and cached locally on your machine. So after a file has been locally cached, it will all itself to what's on the cloud. If it's the same, it will open from your cached file. If what's on the cloud has changed, that file will need to be downloaded again the next time you choose to open it, and that is an automatic process. Now, sometimes there are files you want to always cache on your machine, and there is a way to ensure that it's always cached locally. So let's say I want tunnel walls to always be on my machine. All I need to do is right-click on that file and choose Always Keep on this device. So that's being pulled down from the cloud. And now we can see that it has been locally cached. You can also do the opposite. So let's say there are files you no longer need cached on your machine, and you want to make that space available. So I can right-click on the bridge file and then choose Free Up Space. Yeah, and that immediately sends it back up to the cloud, and it's no longer taking up space on my machine. So you can do this process on a single file basis. You can also do it for folders as well as entire project files, if that is what you need. So now we know how to locally cache our files. So how about versioning? What happens if we have an edit and we send it back up to the cloud? So I'll show you what happens inside the web browser. So let's say I have a file in the architecture folder. So on this DWG, I've made a couple of edits. So file versioning within Docs is also automatic. So every time you save, that becomes a new version. And that is reflected inside this version number here. So if I left click on this version number, it comes up with a list of each version, and that version was created, who made that edit. You can also choose to compare versions to see what was changed. And if we click any of these ellipsis menus, you can easily roll back to a previous version and make that your current version. So file versioning within ACC is very easy. So that's pretty much all for file versioning and how to use the Autodesk desktop connector to manage your Civil 3D files and connecting that Civil 3D environment back into the cloud. So join us next time for the final part, where we'll learn how to manage our Civil 3D content, such as our external references and data shortcuts within the cloud. Additional places where you can, hang on. Yep, additional resources where you can learn more about both BIM Collaborate Pro and ACC, learnacc.autodesk.com, and also our YouTube channel. So let's see. So at learnacc.com, you'll find free video tutorials that show you the ins and outs of every ACC product, including BIM Collaborate Pro. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Arcance ANZ. Today's webinar will be uploaded there. And on our channel, you can also find our past webinars as well as various video tutorials. So now we'll open up the floor for Q&A. And yeah, I don't think there are any questions, but we'll have a look. Yep, so do you have to keep checking an Autodesk account to see if there is a new version of desktop connector? And can you tell who has a drawing locked in ACC? Yep. So the second question, you can definitely tell who has a drawing locked in ACC. If you hover over the lock symbol, actually, I'll show you guys in here. So I'll open up the previous file there. All right, so I've got that bridge file opened. And I believe it won't tell you on your local machine who has it locked, but inside the ACC browser, if you hover over this lock icon, it will tell you which member has it locked. And as for, do you need to keep checking the Autodesk account to see if there is a new version of the desktop connector? If you open up the desktop connector here on your machine, and if you click on the help and settings icon in the top right there, it will have a message up here that says there is an update available. Mine is up to date, so it doesn't show at the top. But if there is an update available, it will show at the very top of the list here. And then you'll be able to download the latest version just by clicking that. Yeah, so I think that concludes the session as there are no more questions. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you back for part 4, the finale of the series.